Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Mediation Orientation. My name is Keith Rains. I head the 7-judge family court team in Washington County. First, a few preliminaries. Cell phones are a wonderful device, but if your cell phone goes off in the courtroom, you're likely to lose it, or at least the battery. So please make sure it's off before you go into the courtroom, and make sure your witnesses know to turn off their cell phones as well. Parking in Hillsborough is free for 2 hours, but if you're here for more than 2 hours, it seems like there's somebody going around constantly handing out tickets. And there's just nothing we can do about that. That's the city of Hillsborough. So please make sure your car is out of its parking spot within that 2-hour period of time. If you have a restraining order against the other parent, let me assure you, we're not going to make you sit in the same room with somebody you don't feel comfortable with. We'll make sure that there can be some different arrangement. But remember, if Jimmy Carter could work something out between Israel and Egypt, certainly we can work something out with the other parent and you. If there's a restraining order against you, be assured that this does not constitute a violation of that restraining order to participate in mediation. Now, each set of parents may come to us with a remarkably different history. One set of parents may have worked together well for years. Another set of parents may not have had a civil word between themselves for a long time. Some parents may have just barely met each other. Yet you're all here for a common reason, and that is that you've come to an impasse, a problem that you couldn't resolve yourself regarding your child. I'm speaking to you as a judge because we judges want to impress on you how important it is for you to make a decision yourself, rather than turning over decision-making to a complete stranger. Because if you don't reach an agreement, then a judge will make that decision. And that judge will never have met your child, never seen you interact with your child, and that judge has to rely on evidence. And the rules of evidence don't allow us to consider many things that you would want to consider in the ordinary course of your daily life. And that's not how you want decisions to be made. You know the needs of your child. You know your own strengths and your own limitations, and you know the other parents as well. If you have multiple children, you know how different they are one from the other. Sometimes it can make you wonder how they can even be related to each other, and how different they are from each of the parent. And what works for one child doesn't work for another. What works one day doesn't work another day. And you can make provision for all that when you work something out with the other parent. A judge will simply cookie cutter make all the same decisions. I can tell you that many of the judges don't want to hear these cases. They're too painful. The decisions are too difficult to make because there's no black and white answer. There isn't a jury to say whether someone is responsible or not responsible. Sometimes it's very difficult to tell what resolution is the right one. Frankly, many of us come to the table hurt and disappointed by the other parent. The courtroom offers no vindication. There's no solace for the damage that you suffered. I can tell you that children can suffer a broken relationship. They can survive a broken relationship. It's all how the parents approach it. Because the parents, if they're in war, cause horrible trouble for the child. We now have brain development studies, the science, not just the stories, that show that a child's brain misdevelops if the child is exposed to violence between the parents. Not just physical violence, but arguments, even if they're not directed at the child. The child will have trouble calculating, will have trouble reading, will have trouble concentrating. So if that's going on in your life, and your child is being exposed to those sorts of problems, stop it now. Stop it because you love your child. And know that you're going to have to work twice as hard in developing those skills for the child in reading and calculation, and probably 3 times as hard in developing concentration skills. We prefer strongly not to have children testify. The child's voice needs to come to the court. We look to a counselor to bring that information. We don't want a child to encounter loyalty conflicts, which may cause a lot of suffering later on. So, if you need to have the child's voice involved, get the child involved with a counselor. Also, somebody who does an evaluation in the case may be able to bring the child's voice to the courtroom. There are quite a few parenting time and visitation guidelines out there. Some even say Washington County parenting time guidelines. Well, they're out there. They are not what the court applies. And there are some excellent discussion documents out there which may be a good starting off point for resolving your issues, because they deal with a lot of different things that you might not have thought of before. So use those tools in developing your skills. Use those tools in developing your agreement. But remember, they're not simply a default that the court falls back upon if the parties don't make an agreement. Reaching your own agreement has a lot of advantages. First of all, parties are much more likely to follow an agreement that they've agreed to rather than something that's simply imposed by a stranger. Avoiding litigation means avoiding stress. And I can tell you that your children will feel the parental stress. They're intuitive. They're looking to the parents for the lead. They suffer when the parents suffer. Avoiding litigation means saving money. Well, if you have a lawyer, that's pretty obvious. Even if you don't have a lawyer, it means that you're not going to have to lose work, lose time away from your children, lose time away from school by coming to court. The result of the settlement is predictable. Lawyers say that a bad settlement is better than a good trial, and the reason why is because a trial result is so unpredictable. You need to know what's going to happen so that you can contend with the issues. And lastly, you may develop a framework for working out future problems without using the court system at all. I want to speak to you as a parent. You know, we parents have different styles. And you know, when we get together and we hear the songs about how you complete me and how you fulfill me, the extrovert looks to the introvert to sort of be drawn back in. The introvert looks to the extrovert to be drawn out. The messy person looks for someone who's neat and clean so they can learn some skills. And one of two things happens in those relationships. Either the parties develop their own skills and move closer to each other, or else they drive each other crazy. And they go around saying, how could I have hooked up with somebody like this? So different from me. The good thing, though, is that your children will get the best of both worlds by having two people who are remarkably different from each other. And hopefully that child will develop skills so that he or she can be a better parent and a better person in the world. As a divorced parent myself, someone who had practiced family law since 1977, I really thought I knew what I needed to know about parenting. I thought I was a great parent. I thought I knew more than the children's other parent did. Well, it was simple arrogance on my part. And I really thought that if everybody did it my way, it was the right way. Well, it took me a long, long time to realize that the other parent had much to offer the children, and the fact that my children are doing well now looks back to what their parent had done for them, their other parent had done for them, and the skills that they learned from the other parent. But my failure to recognize that caused great hardship to the other parent, and my children have suffered as a result of that. And now, many years after the divorce, my children still suffer with that, worrying about what the interparental interaction is going to be, if any, how they can respond to one parent, whether they can even tell the other parent about what they're doing. And that's so sad for them. I wish it could change. It takes two people to change that. You two people can change that. What's happened to us as a society? Now what's our sense of humor? The Simpsons. And suddenly the funniest person in the world is the one who's the nastiest, the one who can say the meanest thing about other people. We can say that doesn't really affect our ordinary life, but we have to know better. Because how easy it is to say a cutting remark about somebody else and kind of build ourselves up at the other person's expense. I know that's why I do it. Anytime I have something negative to say about somebody else that isn't just in an evaluation form, it's because I'm trying to build myself up at their expense. Does it work? Well, it might for a minute. Somebody might laugh, they might chuckle. But over the long term, they don't want to hear it. The people who are true saints, the people I would like to be like in my life, are the people who always have something positive to say about the other person. That's what I'd like to be like. And particularly when it comes to the other parent, your children want to hear the best thing about both their parents. After all, 50% of the child is each one of you. So if you have that urge, as we all do, to say something negative about the other parent, stop it, push it back, recognize it for what it is. Nobody wants to really hear it. You're probably embarrassed once you've said it. So don't. And be prepared that that may come up in your life, and be prepared to say, I'm not going to do that anymore. What your children want more than anything else is for you to treat each other well. Your children probably prefer you just to live together with each other anyhow. And if they're extra people, whether they're married or unmarried, they like everybody lumped together in the same house, all living together in peace and harmony together. Parenting is a joy. But to be truthful, parenting is one sacrifice after another. I'm calling upon you now to sacrifice. I'm calling you to sacrifice your need to be right, your need to be vindicated, your need to have things the way you want them. And look instead to what your child really wants, desires, and hopes. That's for you to be kind, for you to be gentle to the other parent. Because when you are kind and gentle to the other parent, you're being the very best parent you can be for your child, and you're truly fulfilling your child's needs. Thank you for your attention.